Hello everybody. Hi. How are you all doing today? The date is now February the 11th. It's about 6 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Manitoba, Canada. And I have been away for a good while. I've been extremely busy with just life, family, and planning for other things right now. But thank you always for welcoming me back and watching these videos of mine. But always keep in mind that Bitcoin is always on my mind. And because it's always on my mind, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm always going to be constantly watching it like a hawk, because I always need to know what's going on in the market, as should you be if you are a professional trader. So without further ado, let's jump right into this technical analysis today and not waste your time, because I do respect it quite a bit, like how you always respect mine by watching my videos. So let's take a look first of all at the coin market cap. We're seeing a market cap of almost $300 billion, which is phenomenal. We also see BTC dominance dropping from about 65.5% to 63.2% in the past week alone. We're seeing some coins do double digits or close to there, such as EOS. Tesla's is bouncing back. We're seeing Chainlink doing fairly well as well. Cosmo, IOTA, Namcoin, they are doing incredibly well at 17%. Some others are taking a massive dive, of course. VeChain, Chain, jumping up a whopping 14% there as well. You see coins like VeChain parabolically going to the upside. You see coins like Maker going parabolically to the upside as well. NAM, Zcash even, Ontology. Every coin is showing a very steady increase right now to the upside. And Leo, of course, for Bitfinex there. And we see Binance coin steadily going up as well. BTC dominance has been dropping for the past week, about 3% total now. And then we take a look at the historical data for Bitcoin. We see that this historical data jumping up by about $5 billion of volume over the past 4 to 5 days. Before, it was hovering and wavering between 25 to 30 billion. Now we are averaging well over $35,000 for a consistent 6 days in a row. And today it tapers off at $37 billion range. And then now, let's take a look at what we've been doing thus far. Referring to the monthly once again, we see that the monthly has bounced steadily for 3 months in a row above the 21 EMA. It has held very strong thus far. I did not expect a break over $10,000 for a while, and this defied a lot of expectations, but then again, that's the beauty of the crypto market. Holding 3 months in a row above the 21 EMA, which is the exponential moving average, and I personally use the 8, the 13, the 21, the 55, and also the 200 exponential moving average. I'm always going to make this as a reference where I say for 7 weeks or 49 days, we've been trending below the 55 EMA. Keep in mind that the EMA is something that ends up snapping back to close to there. Just as an example, for those that are new to moving averages in general, anything that goes high enough will eventually end up snapping back to some moving average where it gets sandwiched between there, or it hovers near there before it makes an explosive move to the upside or to the downside. And just so you guys know, I'm still working incredibly diligently on these course updates and the revisions for course 1 and 2. They're just taking a lot longer than expected. I'd probably say I'm about 70%, actually overall 70% done recording, and roughly probably 50% overall done, because there still needs to be editing, of course, and they all need to be put together and uploaded and labeled, etc. as well. So I do apologize for the wait there. A lot of people are still showing interest in it. This is the course 1. You're welcome to pause it to check out the curriculum. This is course 2. You're welcome to pause it to check out the curriculum. And this is course 3. That will not be updated quite yet, because this one, in my personal opinion, is quite gold already. So what I'll be doing is updating it with more examples, and it'll be more condensed to the point where it's not going to waste your time. I think that everything can be more concise and it can be compressed in a manner that's easier to understand and also shorter as well. So if you're still interested in it, like I mentioned, I thought that December 31st was going to be my last day. I thought that January was going to be the last month, but it's only fair for me to keep allowing people to get it until I actually finish it. So if you are still interested in it, time is running out. Just check out the link below, okay? And if you do not have it, by the time I release it, you will most likely not be able to have access to it at all. And if you do get access to it, it's going to be much more, put it that way. So let's take a look at this further again. 49 days, we end up trending to the downside. And then finally, we end up breaking to the upside, well above this 55 EMA, where we had a huge surge of over 30%, which makes me incredibly happy. And on the weekly, of course, we crossed over finally. We were exponentially moving to the upside. Those who were patient definitely profited quite a bit. There was not much risk in my opinion, because once we get this momentum crossing to the upside, where we go positive, which ended up showing right around this candle right here, where the momentum was stating that it was going to go to the upside based on the histogram. We stayed supportive above the 55 EMA, and then based on that, we ended up skyrocketing a huge 20 to 30%, depending on where you entered and where you see it from. So right now, the RSI is still in neutral territory for the week. The week is going to be done in 5 days, so there's not much point of talking about the weekly close quite yet. Okay, this is beautiful. As mentioned, there was a possible golden crossover happening that I mentioned in my previous video. Those who have forgotten about it, let me give you a clear-cut example of a golden crossover, for example, that happened all the way back at the beginning of, for example, 2015-ish. Just to give you an example, okay? 2015-ish right here. $280 entry, or when you anticipated it, you could have entered around, yeah, definitely 250. And then you basically just wait for the 200 moving average to support below all of these. So it'll go 200, 55, 21, 13, and 8 there. And then we end up selling it when the white ends up being above it, okay? This is just a general strategy to ensure that you are not prematurely selling it. Some people would argue, I could have sold at 20K. Well, yeah, you could have also sold at 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. So this is just a very simple strategy to ensure that you're going to be able to hang on to it as long as you possibly can before a trend confirmation is changed. Before a trend change is confirmed. So what we're seeing right here, massive bear market, and then we see right here in May or April 2019, the golden crossover happened again. And then we got into a death cross scenario where the 200 moving average ended up resisting above all of it. And then now we're parabolically looking like we're about to shoot to the upside again right here. So it's very puzzling what this is possibly looking like. I couldn't even begin to tell you, okay? But it looks like this fifth subwave could be coming into play. And we'll get into that in a few moments, okay? But what I'm seeing right here on the RSI is a consistent higher low. Here's a higher low. Here's a higher low. Here's a higher low. Here's also a higher low. And we are also consistently getting higher highs every single time as well. Okay? Gotta reload this here. So Bitcoin has certainly been making waves right now. Usually what ends up happening is every time there's a golden crossover, we end up shooting to the upside in anticipation for this golden crossover. And then what happens is it ends up snapping back hard to near the 55 EMA. Just let me give you a very good example, okay? Oops, excuse me. My trading view doesn't seem to be loading properly a lot of the times here now. There we go, it should be a lot better now. Okay, just to give you an example, we snap well above it, right? And eventually there's some rally that goes up, and then we get very close to this 55 EMA. It happens every single time, and we can see it from fairly far away as well. Just to give you an example here, okay, we move very, very high up to the upside, and it snaps back to near the 55 EMA, and this has been consistently happening for years now. So the question is, will we actually will we end up snapping back to the 55 EMA? So let's do a few tests to see what kind of range we're actually at, okay? Right now, what we see is that we're now trending directly at the 0.5 Fibonacci range. We're also at a resistance right here. The resistance stretches up to $10,480. We'll just end up saying $10,500 to be safe. All right. Okay, so we actually ended up reaching 10,316 already, which was about $180 away from the, I would call this the interim swing high, which was established on October the 26th. And that is now, how many days? It has been about 3.5 months now, you can say, 110 days. So now the big question is this, folks, okay? Okay, let me point it out for you, the way that I'm possibly seeing this. First of all, once again, I'm seeing higher lows and higher highs on the RSI, but doesn't mean it's going to be consistent like that forever. Also, we're not really getting histogram peaks higher than here anymore. It's reaching a resistance right now. It's fighting to be maintained, and this is very typical of the first wave, in my opinion. So now what I'm looking for is, and I'm also asking myself, is this a viable count right here? Okay. If this is a possible count, great. The fifth wave is very extended though, in my personal opinion. Okay. I honestly thought that this around January 31st was actually the fifth wave already that finished. Now let me break it down to you even further. I'll just do it from right here. That could have been the first wave right there. 2, 3, 4, and that could have been the fifth wave to the upside. Okay? And then I thought that the fifth wave was originally here, and I was expecting a rally to the downside because we couldn't really get much higher highs for the RSI, barely higher than it actually. And because of that, I really did think it was going to be the peak of the fifth wave. But then now in hindsight, when I look at it, we weren't really getting a lower high for the RSI. So that ends up disproving my original theory that that was the fifth wave. And it almost implied that there was going to be an extended type of fifth wave, which can rarely and sometimes happen in the fifth wave of the fifth subwave of the third wave. So if we were to go with this particular analysis where this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5, and that's the third coming down, and that's the fourth right here that bounced precisely off of the 55, or sorry, the 200 EMA. That's beautiful. So now let's just see which covered more ground. Wave 2 to 3 is there. And then wave 5 right now, wave 3 is actually larger than wave 5 already, okay? Which is great. So in order for this to be a one-to-one extension, which would maintain wave 3 as the longer particular wave, $10,544 on the nose. That would be a one-to-one extension of it, because remember that wave 3 is often the longest and never the shortest, okay? Especially when it comes to any type of impulse wave going to the upside. Sometimes you can find wave 5 longer than wave 3 if there was an extended one, which clearly there was so far, because I thought that wave 5 was going to end there. So now if I am right about this, I'd be looking on the 4-hour chart and I would be demarcating these particular zones right now. And it's very difficult to even be looking at this particular structure. But in my opinion right here, it must do something like that, right? Something into this particular zone over here, around 10,500, and then we get a big break to the downside. If this were to actually happen, I'd be ecstatic, because then I'd be looking for a very good short opportunity, okay? And then I would be taking my Fibonacci trend-based extension. And keep in mind, this is never financial advice or legal advice that I am giving. It's merely my personal perspective and what I would personally do for myself. Not necessarily recommended to anybody to take these stances that I take. So if this were the actual case right here, all right, where we get to a one-to-one extension for up there, up to $10,544, and then we break down right here, and this actually does finish the final 5 waves with all the sub-waves into play, then what we'd be looking at right here is a breakdown to the downside. And in my personal opinion, the best place for me to catch a long would most likely be between, of course, the 382 Fibonacci range and most likely the wave 4 bottom, which would be the wave 4 bottom is in between 0.5 and 0.618 Fibonacci, right? 618 and 0.5 fib levels there. Pretty decent range, actually. The range is roughly $730. Why do I say this? Because first of all, we have to acknowledge wave 3 territory, and we also have to acknowledge the 382, respect it. I think it only ends up 12% of the time where Bitcoin ends up bouncing off of the 382, and it happens only during very much so bullish pressure and momentum to the upside. And the other one that we must acknowledge is wave 4 bottom, in my personal opinion. Of course, it can go further below that to even 618, but generally speaking, wave 4 is a very good place to catch a particular long. For those that have forgotten their basic Elliot waves, let me just remind you, okay? ABC tends to do something like this, where it literally goes to wave 4 right here, or somewhere even above wave 1. Wave 4, wave 1 doesn't usually go below wave 1, okay? Once again, wave 4 doesn't usually not go below wave 1. And C, if the ABC does end up forming, will end up looking like it's just about to finish above the wave 1 territory and above the wave 4 territory as well. So there's a lot of things to be looking at right here now. But this is my prediction, that we're going to find a resistance right here. And I don't think that we're going to be breaking it anytime soon quite yet. And those who have been in a long opportunity, in my opinion, if I were in a long opportunity, I would definitely be considering many other factors right now about where the top could be. The volume is still very, very impressive in my opinion. But if the bulls were continuing to hammer at this resistance, I don't think that today's CoinMarketCap historical data would only be at $37 billion, when the past few days, they were actually well over $39 billion, even to the 40s, okay? So with that being said, we're going to ask ourselves, is this the resistance? Possibly, okay? Now, I might be entirely wrong, but I have to assume bearishness first, okay? If I'm entirely wrong, then of course on the bullish side, now that I will give you my opinion of, would most likely be met at this one right there. That would be below $11,000, right around $11,900, okay? So it's not that much to be breaking to the upside right now. I think that if you wanted to get into a long opportunity, your chances are now actually very slim to get into one. And if you do get into one, it would just be the fear of missing out that's going to force you to make bad trades. So in my opinion, don't take the trade. If you have any moment where there's FOMO, last thing you should do, guys, is probably end up getting into a trade, okay? The 4 hour doesn't really show any signs of it slowing down. There's neither signs of bullish momentum or bearish pressure right now. What it is showing is indecisiveness, in my personal opinion, and the bulls are trying to read out where the bears want to come into play to short them. So this is quite an interesting time, in my opinion. So once again, on the bullish side, we're going to be breaking to $10,900. On the bearish side, this is not going to hold anymore. We're going to finish most likely one more subwave going to the upside. And the subwave could look something like that, okay? 1, 2, 3, could even be a 4 there somewhere, and a 5 just going to the upside to finish the 5 subwaves for this 5th wave of the overall grand first scale, or first wave right here. Okay, so if we do end up hitting that, then of course the RR would be quite juicy, in my opinion, if we do start to see a lot of bullish pressure. But me, I'm going to be very conservative if I wanted to enter a trade. I'd probably wait for the B, okay, or a lower low to form first of all. Look for 5 possible waves coming to the downside. So if we get up here and then all of a sudden we see the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5, okay, and then we see the ABC going to the upside, and we've confirmed these possible valid counts, okay, then I would be loving to enter it right at the C, so I can short it, which could guarantee me a C play, as in the A to the B and the C coming to the downside, which would actually yield me a fairly substantial RR. And that would be something such as, let's just go halfway between there and there. I'd probably take my loss at 2%. And I'd probably just shoot for a 382. That's pretty juicy 3.6 RR with a 7.58% possible gain and a 2.1% possible loss right there. On the bullish side, heck, it's very difficult for me to look at the bullish side right now. Even though I'm bullish long term, I don't even think there's a number I would enter it at. I'm too late to the party. Even if I entered it above 10,600 there, or 10,550, that's only a 3.79% gain right there. And my stop loss would be probably tight at 1.77, at 2% loss, 3.6% possible gain. So this is just my preliminary hearing with Bitcoin, you can say, okay? I got a lot more on my mind that I don't have a lot of time to share with because this video could get extremely long. And I do have to go pick up the miss. My girlfriend's been waiting for a little bit now. She's actually being very patient, I do have to admit. We have a lot of plans in the next few months actually. Gonna be selling my 370Z. Not that it's a special car or anything, but I do love that it's the only one in Manitoba of a touring edition sports package of that particular color. But I think I want to get some sort of 4-door all-wheel drive sedan. Simply because my lady can't drive standard and I don't want to teach her how to break up in a relationship. Teach your partner how to drive standard. I also think she's one of the most ambitious people that I've ever met in my life, and her personality radiates. She's a hairdresser or stylist, so I'm thinking of opening up a salon with her, and I want to work the front end. and have a little office in the back there where I'd be very motivated to trade as well. I think it'd be very good for us. And it's time for me to get a bigger place. This place is not big enough for two of us anymore. It's tiny. I could barely fit here when I think about it, so we're gonna move into a 2-bedroom apartment just in case friends and family do sleep over. So that's why I've been a little bit busy. I just thought I'd share with you very nonchalantly about what my life is going on, what's going on with my life right now as well. And in terms of the Udemy guys, the courses, get on it, man. I will say this maybe only once, again, but you guys have to get interested in it if you have not purchased it already, because it's only going for $190 USD. You're going to get all 3 courses. Course 1 and 2 is going to be heavily revamped and edited. I'm about 70% done filming and about 50% done altogether editing, but the ball is rolling very, very quickly. You'll get access to the brand new course 1 and 2. Well, it's just going to be slightly updated and revised, condensed, with more information, more concise, and better spoken. And then once you guys get that, you'll get that for free as well. And I'm pretty sure that once I release it, it's going to be about $800 for all 3 of them, and I'm only going to sell 100 of them. That's it. Because I want this to be a limited edition thing going on, and I do not want a lot of people to have access to it. So if you guys are interested in it, check out the link below. The Bitcoin and Ethereum address is down there. Just send it. And then send me the screenshot on Twitter only. And make sure you're speaking directly to me and me only so you don't get scammed. Anyways, have yourself a phenomenal night. Thank you for watching this video. I will be back absolutely tomorrow. I'm going to be dyeing my hair tonight. My lady's going to be dyeing my hair. You guys like the haircut or what, huh? It's pretty sick, eh? Okay, you guys got to see it. This is what she did for my hair, man. Looks sick. I got my own personal stylist. What can I say? I'm truly blessed. And I hope you all feel blessed as well, whether you have a little or a lot, because all that matters, if you ever want to feel rich, is feeling rich inside. So have yourselves a great night, folks, and thank you very much for enjoying this video and for always participating with me while I do my technical analysis. Bye now. Take care.